Welcome to Align to Your Design. I'm your host, Baeth Davis. Isn't it time to wrap your business around your purpose and bring your greatest work to the world? Each week, join me as we explore various biometric tools such as human design and hand analysis and how to use them to fulfill your destiny and align to your design. We will reveal how to do the work you are designed to do rather than what you think you should do. Hey there, everyone. How are you? Baeth Davis here. You are listening to the Align to Your Design podcast, where we meet with people from all walks of life who I personally consider are aligned to their design, so that you, the listener or viewer, can have an experience of what that looks like and feels like. Because some of you are aligned and some of you are working towards being aligned, and some of you are recognizing you're out of alignment and you want to get back into alignment. That's the cool thing about being aligned, is it's not a static state. We go in and out of alignment. And our guest today is a master at helping individuals get in alignment, get in the way of what it is they want to manifest. Her name is Maura Barclay, and she is a neuro facilitation specialist, author, and transformational leadership consultant. As a thought leader, she's best known for her groundbreaking work in the intuitive empowerment field with her book, Unbreakable Woman, Compassionate Self-Defense, and intuitive empowerment programs, which she presented for nearly 2 decades across the nation for federal agencies, Fortune 500 companies, and the U.S. military. Her work as a firefighter, 2-time title-winning bodybuilder, and martial artist have informed her process of helping people physically embody their personal authority and confidence. Maura's cancer diagnosis in 2016 brought about the realization that she too had been ignoring her deep truth and hiding from her authentic power. This awakening led to the creation of Soulfuleader, which provides the tools to help people surrender to their wiser, higher selves and become world-class CEOs of their thoughts, beliefs, and emotions. Maura's early career as a mind-body master instructor, traveling around the U.S. training teachers in therapeutic movement, meditation, and embodied anatomy, has contributed to the evidence-based methodology she employs in her transformational intensive training for HNW individuals and her effortless enrollment without selling program for transformational leadership coaches. And today we're going to talk about her transformational sales method, how she created it, and how you can start to use this consciousness to develop yourself. So with that, let us bring on our wonderful guest, Maura Barclay, to the show. Hello, hello. How are you?
There we go. Sorry.
There.
Hello.
Hi.
Good to see you. Hi, Baeth. Oh my gosh, it's so good to see you again. I love you so much. Oh,
I love you too. I'm so happy you're here. You're so impressive. I love reading your bio. First of all, okay, I have these questions. Yes, I have a list of questions, but will you just share with everyone, when did you realize, oh yeah, I'm really physical, so I'm going to be a firefighter and a bodybuilder and a martial artist? Like, did that happen naturally for you, just because you're naturally athletic and strong? Like, how did that happen? Because mostly women don't go into those fields. I mean, some do, but
right.
mostly not. So I'm
Well,
wondering what it was that spurred you on.
it took me until about the age of 48 to really understand how that whole thing went down, because I have a degree in journalism. And then I went right into firefighting and then martial arts and, and bodybuilding and the whole thing. So what was really driving that? Well, I was a competitive gymnast. I was a 2-time junior Olympian, in the back in the day. So I've always been athletic and embodied. My body's always been my church, if you will. So if physical activity is important to me, what was really driving those particular events was the insatiable need for external validation to feel special, and also wanting to show up and feel like a hero. So the firefighting piece was twofold, because I was a rare person in it, a very short, small, heterosexual female, not a lot of any of those things in the fire service. And also I got to be a hero. And I recognized that my drive, but one, I have a servant's heart, as you do. You know what that's about. I've always been in service. And because I grew up in a chaotic household, going to a chaotic emergency and organizing it was my happy place. It just felt natural to me. I'm like, emergency, I'm all over it. And the bodybuilding was an effort to help me feel, one, to have control, because I did not have a lot of control growing up. And so control over my body, and also to feel strong and powerful so that people wouldn't know how scared I was. And the martial arts was an extension of that. So they all served a very deep emotional wound. And and there's a lot of proving, as we'll get, in my human design, open heart, lots of proving going on. And this is what led to the cancer. It was all of this suppression of my anger, my suppression of my fear, and doing all these things, being outwardly driven for external validation, that led to me. It sapped all my vital energy and opened the door for cancer. And the cancer, hopefully, that it showed me that. It was what taught me to surrender to the higher, wiser self that I talk a lot about and anchor into in my work now. And I help others do the same. And had I not had that journey, I never would be standing here today.
It's so remarkable. So tell us about this chi sales method and where it came from. And of course, explain to everyone what you mean by chi.
Sure. So the chi sales method was something that developed naturally, organically, actually through my work with you, Baeth. My first experience with being a one-to-one coach and mastermind coach, even though I'd had my consultancy and had been presenting and teaching and training for very many years, coaching individuals as a consultant was different. So I felt like I wanted to have a very distinct, integrity-based way to influence people into their own greatness. And so chi stands for conscious holistic influence. So it's not just about enrollment, it's about ushering people out of their limiting stories and into their greatness. That is the influence I want to have on people. I recognize as a leader, I come with a lot of authority. I bring the boom, as it were. And I want to be really, really clear for people like us. You also bring the boom. It's really important to be conscious that you're bringing it, be holistically oriented and in integrity when you are exerting your power, not force. So this is the container, if you will, that I use to, or that I hold in order to bring people into the experiences that they're after and why they hire me.
Wow, that's great. It's great. So this conscious, holistic, what's the I stand for?
Influence.
Influence, conscious, holistic influence. So how do you apply the chi, conscious, holistic influence method to increase sales and client retention for the clients that hire you?
Yeah, so this is something that was born out of, I created effortless enrollment, and chi is a function of the effortless enrollment program. And it's funny because I was doing my second launch, I was in your program, and I was doing my second ever Facebook launch. And I know you've heard the expression, necessity is the mother of invention. Well, in this case, exhaustion was the mother of invention. And I'm just like, I'm too tired, y'all. Here's the cost of my thing. Here's what you get. You've all had an experience here with me, and I haven't even customized this for you. You know you're going to get results in my program. I don't do sales calls. So that was how effortless enrollment was born. And I recognized that and people just showed up to sign up with me. I have 100% enrollment rate on my calls because they come ready. I make sure of that. And chi is how I do it. In the free offer, and we'll talk about how human design helped influence how I structure my free offer, which is the masterclass, right? I structure my masterclass in such a way, and again, it's very conscious. Every single slide has a psychological impact, evokes an emotion, creates a paradigm shift, or shows them my soul. All of those things, and they're all in alignment with the chi framework. So it is through my offering, it is through my masterclass that they are pre-enrolled. The people who are called to work with me, and I got that phrase from you, and anybody who's listening must understand the genius of Baeth Davis. The phrase that actually opened the door for me to access and download the effortless enrollment program was for those who are called. It's invitational. It's if you're called. So I recognize that they need to be recognized. They need to recognize themselves. I feel called. Here's what it looks like. Here's what it feels like. Every slide in my class is designed to help people know whether or not they're called. It's done consciously, it's done holistically. So I'm coming in through all different ways to get them to the seat of their soul. And then the influence is my invitation to the program, my invitation to which is their greatest self, right? That's what I'm inviting them into. I want to be their guide if they feel called. That's how it works.
It's just great. I love how this sounds. So you use mindfulness and the concept of mindfulness a lot in that work and other work you do. So how is practical mindfulness different than what's being taught?
I feel like mindfulness has the common understanding of mindfulness is this spiritual endeavor that feels a little bit big. It feels a little bit complicated. And living a mindful life is simply being conscious and aware and having your mind and body connected. So practical mindfulness is really creating the opportunity for your mind and body to be connected throughout the day. And it is as simple as setting a Fitbit or your Apple Watch, whatever your device is that reminds you to simply stop whatever you're doing or continue what you're doing, but take a breath, like focus in on your breathing, come into your body, feel yourself taking a belly breath. And there is a particular way to do that that I teach just to help people with the mechanics of it. The moment you stop and take a conscious breath, you are dropping into the present moment. You have reconnected the mind-body bond. And it is a very practical way to do this throughout the day. And when you get in the habit of coming into your body and you get in the habit, and just by taking a breath, once you do this, what people fail to realize sometimes is this is a very robust and expansive muscle that opens the door for all kinds of intuitive impulses that they have been missing because their minds are running the show. As you say in human design, your mind is not there to make decisions. Stop trying to make decisions with your mind. Get out of your head and into your body. And that's what practical mindfulness is all about. Instant embodiment so you can be in the genius of the intuitive impulses that have been coming to you all day, but you were too distracted to receive them.
Yeah. So is it possible then to be mindful without meditating?
Yes, meditation is another one of those words. People were like, what springs into your mind, Baeth Davis, when I say you got to meditate for half an hour? Like, what do you think about? Like,
I see those Japanese Zen monks sitting for hours in a very rigid posture and getting whacked with a bamboo branch when they begin to doze off. That's what I see.
Already you're in your limbic brain about it, which is the opposite. Okay, so this is what people see. The word meditation brings about a great deal of panic in people and discord because they're like, I can't sit like that. My legs don't bend like that. I don't know how to sit still. And now they're already judging themselves. So I'm like, listen, we're just throw meditation out the window. Here's what we're going to do. I just want you to sit in a chair or a place, and I would like for you to listen to the sounds around you and allow those sounds to supplant your thoughts. Like allow the sounds to be your thoughts. So you're putting your attention on what's happening around you in the moment. Now, just between you and me, on a pro level, because I'm sure everybody listening to this wants to get in on the pro level. Here's a pro tip, folks, especially if you're a coach. What we're doing is backdooring getting into task positive neuroscience. So the default mechanism is what keeps people churning and in their heads and out of their bodies. And what I just described to you is number one, keeping that allowing muscle fit, that reception muscle. And number two, it takes all the judgment off. So one, your body needs to be comfortable. Even if you want to lie down and put your knees up, do that. We need to just be way more adaptive to the individual. Again, this is conscious holistic influence right here. We need to be way more adaptive to what individuals are capable of. You need to start where you are and keep it comfortable, make it joyous. Like, I can't wait to get in my bed, bend my knees and just listen to the room. Who doesn't want to do that? And then when the thoughts come and you bring them back, you retrieve your awareness of the room. That's the win. This is another thing people don't understand. No thought is very difficult to achieve in a human lifetime. That's not what we're looking for. The success, the victory is every time you get pulled into a thought, you bring your awareness back. That's it. There's no such thing as a bad, we'll call it meditation in air quotes, but it's just paying attention to what's in the room and just allowing yourself to be in it, really. So I would say, yes, I believe in meditation. However, to me, that is meditation.
Yeah, I love that. I love that method. I kind of had to develop some of those approaches for myself because
Yeah.
the Zen sitting for hours on end, plus it's too masculine. Like it's a whole masculine kind of way, and being in a feminine body, I do much better moving
Yeah.
or having flexibility in the process. Let me put it
Oh,
that way.
and you just brought up something really powerful. There's such things. Well, I mean, this is what yoga is intended to be, which is conscious movement. If you and what we're trying to do is eventually simmer down the sensorial input less and less. However, we got to start where you are. So
Right.
if you find movement, embodied conscious movement, your entryway, that's awesome. That is a great place to be.
Okay, so we're learning how to be with our thoughts,
Mm.
understanding that having no thoughts is not the goal, but to keep bringing our attention back to the moment. Where do emotions factor in with this? And do you feel it's possible to master our emotions? Because emotions cause so much chaos when they're not handled by the individual in a mature way.
Agreed. It's actually our response to the emotions that causes the chaos, not the emotions themselves. It's how we internalize the emotions that causes all the issues, right?
Right, right.
So that's awesome two-part question. So the first part of the question is, how do emotions factor into this? Any trapped emotion, suppressed or repressed emotion that is blocked. And we all have them. We all have hardships that live in our bodies because our bodies keep score. So most people, by the time, especially by the time they get to you and me, right? We work with people they tend to be in their late 30s, early 40s for this very reason, because once the coping skills stop working, then you need to look inward and address the trapped emotion that is within you. Emotions are nothing more than energy in motion. Now, the energy in motion usually creates a thought, and it's the thought that triggers the feeling, the sensation of the emotion. So if you can understand emotion from an energetic point of view and not take emotions personally, that's step one. Recognize what's happening. Nothing is being done to you. It is all you bringing this energy for you to take a look at. This is the life lesson, right? So my life lesson is trust. And whenever I would start spinning around and give myself the roller coaster ride of, oh no, and they're going to betray me and I have to be careful. I got to defend myself and all this stuff. Yes, it is absolutely possible to master emotions through the following mechanism, which is identifying the ego, the small self, as having the purpose of trying to keep you safe and living in a survival fear frequency. Centers 1, 2, and 3 in the body. That's the ego's job. It's great at it. There is a point where we need to align the ego with the big S self, the spirit self. And we can do this by recognizing where we have stories that used to protect us but are now maladaptive. They are hurting us. They're causing destruction. And then work with the spirit self to relinquish those stories. This is the surrender piece. The first step of quote unquote mastering your emotions is surrendering to something larger than the ego. And once you've done that, then you can call upon the spirit to help support you as you let go. As the stories come up, here's the key. Resistance drives things deeper. It's the resistance that you're talking about that creates the chaos. The moment something really uncomfortable comes up and you're capable of sitting with it, sitting in that chair, right? Or in your case, Baeth, moving with it. Like, I don't like how this feels. I'm not going to try to change it. I'm not going to try to make it go away. I'm going to just listen and ask my higher self, what is the teaching here? What have I brought myself this feeling to teach myself? Once you can identify, now this is a larger process, but that is the beginning. And it is absolutely possible. Dr. David Hawkins wrote a whole series of books. His seminal work is called Power versus Force. I highly recommend it. It changed my genetics, as did Letting Go. His book about letting go was the most phenomenal, productive book. You got to be ready for it, though. It's one of these books that you read, you come to tears, you're like, I hate this book. I love it, but I hate it. I'm so uncomfortable as you're letting it all go. So that is, it's a very conscious process. And sometimes, as you know, Baeth, it requires a coach. You need a coach to guide you and remind you, don't get out of the fire. You're exactly where you need to be. That discomfort, this is where you normally run away and stop growth, and drive that back down.
Mm-hmm.
Keep it in flow. Let somebody hold your hand and support you and like pet your head and be like, you're doing it awesome.
Yes.
That's
Feel
it.
those feelings.
Feel those feelings.
Even if you have to feel them in downward dog, feel them.
That's right. Feel them.
All right. So I have one other question for you, and then we'll look at your chart. So can you share with us a success story where you applied the Chi sales method with a client and their before and after briefly for us?
I had a client who came to my masterclass, and I took her through, you know, I had a whole classroom full of people. I enrolled, I sold out my mastermind, but she wanted to work with me privately. So she paid the big bucks to work with me. And that's what HNW in my bio means, high net worth, because now that I'm primarily working with coaches, if you are an individual who wants to work with me, it's very significant. It takes significant resources. So that's what that's about. Her situation was, okay, when I am on enrollment calls, one, I love them because people come with their expectations set. They already know what everything is. And
right.
it's a chemistry call. I want to make sure I can serve their needs, and I want to make sure that they're going to stick it out on my program. So it's a real partnership conversation is what it is, as you know, because that was a conversation we had. And she is in a community that I was familiar with. We both studied with similar teachers. And the first thing that she did was, actually, you know what? I'm going to change the story because I just realized I got a better one for you, because this has never happened before. Okay, here we go. This is someone who was referred to me by people who signed up for my mastermind. And when we started talking, she's never met me before. This is a better story. She never met me. She didn't come through my masterclass. She was not pre-screened or pre-enrolled. Okay. Her life story was my life story, all the way down to the bodybuilding. She was actively, she was basically a natural bodybuilder like me. And we had the exact same issues. And I'm like, you have to sign up with me. I'm being told, like, my guides are like, you need to get in my program. And she's like, well, I can't make the times. I said, I will make it work. We'll do a semi-private. I'll give you more time. Like I was being led to make exceptions for her because it was what I call a coaching emergency. She was not going to get off the phone without signing up with me. And this was not a pressure for me. One of them, the money had nothing to do with it. The money was for her. It was really clear. And I watched her, she left her body. I watched her shut down, and I said, let's get you enrolled right now. So she got her credit card and we took care of it. And the next morning she emailed me, and her whole thing was, I don't matter. Nothing I have to say matters. She was very depressed and unhappy and did not love herself at all, because that was what she was trained to do as a kid. She emailed me the next morning in a complete panic, accused me of like pressuring her and all of the things. And I recognized immediately what was happening. Her ego knew that we were about to put it out of a job. This was the kitchen sink. That's who wrote that email. And thank God this happened. This has never happened before or since. It was just for her, which is why I'm telling this story. It gave me the opportunity to call her. She needed to see what kind of coach I was going to be. She did not have a good relationship with her mother. She's never had a strong female be there for her. And I knew exactly what she needed. So I called her immediately and I said, I'm so glad that you emailed me your truth, because she was punished for her truth.
Right.
And diminished for her truth.
Right.
And growing up, she's never had it embraced before. So she really put it out there saying like, I'm afraid and you did this. I'm like, bring it. Thank you. Thank you for being honest with me. Here's what's going on. And and she surrendered immediately once she understood that I was going to be there for her. This whole thing needed to happen for her to see that I had her, that we were going to,
of course.
Right. So it didn't even dawn on me to get upset about anything because it was so divinely guided. I was so in my strategy and authority when that conversation, I've never had a conversation like that with anybody. I'm like, you need to get in my program. We need to do it today. This is an emergency, basically. She went on to she didn't know how to meditate. She's like, I always fall asleep because she gets up at 4:30 in the morning to go to the gym. She not only learned to meditate, her first meditation where I advised her to do a soul inquiry and call in her guides, she said she felt, I knew she would because her kinesthesia is through the roof. she felt them put a blanket around her shoulders, a 5D blanket. I know what was happening. I'm like, Gigi, you are not allowed to share that with anyone who meditates, because they're going to have such experience envy. They're going to be like, what? They've been meditating for 2 decades and you come in with one meditation and your guides show up and put a shawl around you? Like, what? Her life became so spiritual and so self-devoted. And she really got through. She broke through this depression and she really started to understand her value. She spoke her value to her family. She compassionately advocated for herself. And by the end of our working together, she had a contest she was training for. And I said to her, if you're doing the contest to prove your worthiness, stop training now. But if this can be a celebration of your body and you can accept your whole body and its magnificence, regardless of how you place, that's worth doing. And so we really worked on her mindset.
Mm-hmm.
She's never won a contest before. She destroyed the competition. She won every category. And not only that, she said, I was happy, that I was like just joyful the whole time. I had the best time I've ever had. And I made friends for the first time.
That is definitely winning. So we're looking at Maura's chart now. And thank you for that incredible story. I love that story. I'm not surprised she won. I mean, when you're exuding that kind of energy, it's mesmerizing.
Yeah, she was radiating.
I bet. It's just
amazing.
Incredible.
Yeah.
So I was saying to our listeners that we wrap up our show looking at the guest chart, and I asked the guest for one thing they want to talk about. So we're gonna touch on your incarnation cross in light of what you shared, because the incarnation cross is essentially the life's purpose in human design. Now, many of these systems, hand analysis, astrology, etc., point to a life's purpose. And in human design, it's the incarnation cross, which has to do with the location of your personality sun and earth and your design sun and earth. The design sun and earth are established 88 days before you're born. And this is when the soul crystal comes in, otherwise known as the ajna here. And the ajna informs the building of the body, the intelligence of the body. And then the moment we're born, time, date, location is our regular astrology chart or personality chart. The sun and the earth makes up 70% of who we are, 70% of the frequency of who we are. The other celestial positions are only 30%. Thus, the incarnation cross becomes a very big deal. And of course, it is not promised to you that you'll have your purpose. It is rather something to aspire to, the brass ring, the diamond ring to catch. So you have gates 33, 19, 24, and 44. So we'll start with gate 33, which is your personality sun. And this is also known as your life's work or your brand. Our personality sun is basically what's your sign? You know, what's your astrology sign? And when people ask that, and it is the energy people are most drawn to in us. So for you, it's the energy of retreat, line 4. And line 4 in a business context happens to be about storytelling and sales. And retreat is knowing how to quiet oneself. And that's exactly the work that you do. How does a person take a mindful retreat throughout their day? We're not just talking vacations, which we all need, but on the more micro level. So over the lifetime, people need sabbaticals. They really and truly need sabbaticals from careers, from projects. They need to be able to go inward. You understand this implicitly because this is your sun. This is your brand, is the need for retreat, the need to have privacy with oneself. And on the more micro level, how do we take a retreat throughout the day? Oh, well, we develop mindfulness. You gave 2 techniques already. Take the deep breath, like I just did. Boom, I'm so here with you. Lay down, put your knees up, listen to the sounds in the room. Should your mind wander, come back to the sounds, the whirring of the heater or the air conditioner or the birds outside the window, the tap, tap, tap of the water filter in the refrigerator, whatever it might be. How do you take that retreat, even on a small level, and make it meaningful? And so you're bringing this mindfulness, but you're bringing it to a 4th line energy. And 4th line is the opportunist, ultimately. And it is the person who sees opportunity through connection. through networking, through building community. So it's an interesting contrast that in order to have said community, one must know how to be with oneself. One must know how to take retreat. Now, I don't have this gate in my design. And so it is an ongoing challenge for me to remember to do that, to bring that energy into my life in a mindful way. But whenever I do, I am rewarded. So that's the first thing people are drawn to in you, is this sense of, this is what I guess is happening for our listeners and viewers, is they hear you and they see you speak about whatever you're speaking. You could be speaking about what happened in the hospital when you dealt with cancer. You could be speaking about how you raised your daughter, or being with your life partner, whatever it might be. And you could share that. And chances are high that if you're feeling present, they're going to look at you and say, oh, I feel calmed. I feel renewed. I feel an oasis of bliss is possible if I interact with Maura Barclay. Right? Because people are craving the permission to take a break from the crazy churning of their mind and dip. And as a, one writer who helped me many years ago try to express this experience, is dip your toe in the sweet pool of consciousness, and dip your toe in there. So that's what they're drawn to. Then we move to your personality earth, and this is the grounding energy, right? It's Mother Earth in your personality. And so this is your challenge area, which is to heal. Gate 19 is about how to approach things in a way that doesn't use too much energy. It uses just the right amount of energy. So if it needs a lot of energy, you bring a lot of energy. If it doesn't need so much, you probably learned a lot about this in martial arts, right? It's the right application of force. Just you blow on someone, right, they can tip over. If you catch them off guard, right, they try to get out of your way. So 19 is the gate of approach, and it's also the gate of the healer and the shaman. So what you're being asked to do is embrace this shamanic healing capacity that lives within you. And of course, healers are usually given a healing crisis to understand the healing process intimately. It isn't to kill you, it's to educate you. Right. And when we get out of alignment, we're going to get feedback. So, sure, can we avoid diseases? Yes, it's preferable to not be sick. But we sometimes don't know what we don't know until the body retaliates. And so you have the other opportunity you bring to people is this opportunity for deep, profound physical healing, because 19's coming off the root. And this is about how much adrenaline. Because when we're over adrenalized, we burn out. And if we're under adrenalized, we can't get our butt in gear. And so 19 is about the Goldilocks rule. Too much, too little, just right. To quote my dear teacher, Richard Unger, who phrased that term. I love that. The Goldilocks rule. Too much, too little, just right. And that's what 19 says. I over the years, I've said to clients when they're just going at something, I've said to them, what would happen if you approach that with 50% less energy? What if you brought 75% less force to that dynamic? What could happen? Or what if you brought 50% more energy? So you innately understand these concepts of the modulation of emotion and adrenaline, because 19 shoots up to the solar plexus, which is where the revolution takes place. But you can't have an emotional revolution if you don't approach things right. You'll either underwhelm people or overwhelm them, but you won't hit just right. So that's what you're learning too, because whatever is in our personality earth is what we most need to learn. So you're learning what is just right, what's enough in the approach to whatever, an approach to a sales call. That's an approach. You just shared a story of approach, right? You knew you needed to push that client with a little more force and say to her, you need to do this. And she paid. And then she had her morning regrets, and you knew you were correct. You needed to push her further to embrace that change. And you did it in a very crafty and intelligent way. And so that 19 at its finest knows what to say when. It knows when the touch on the shoulder is needed and when the touch on the shoulder would be seen as offensive or invasive or irritating. It knows. It's an instinct for healing. It's an instinct for the connection between people and how to approach an individual, because we're all individuals and we all need a different approach if you really want to get down to it. And that requires a level of awareness and subtlety that can often be overlooked. Then we move over to the design, and this is about the your soul, what feeds your soul, and thus you bring to the other. Right? So our personality is what people see in us. In our incarnation cross, people see, oh, she's an oasis of calm. They see that you have the healing medicine. That's what they see. But what you know in your body is gate 24, line 6, which is the ultimate realization. It's like the bodhisattva. And what keeps you healthy is to spend time in nature, communing with all that is. The bodhisattva consciousness is what feeds you over and over and over again. Tree hugging, trail riding, trail jogging, bird watching, whatever. That's what's feeding you. And your core genius then is 44, line 6, which is developing a system that allows teams to thrive. And because it's line 6, it's about the entire system itself being realigned, being reconfigured. And that is your core genius. And that's really what people are paying you for, is to help them create a team, be on the right team, lead the team, whatever the role. It doesn't really matter what their role is on the team. It's just to be a leader in whatever role they find themselves in, right? The janitor can be the leader with the right power. Let's say I went and got a janitor job just for grins, right? I would be on the board of whatever that building was in about 4 months, because they'd be like, wow, she's an interesting janitor. She always has such helpful ideas, and she cleans that floor like she owns the place, right? It's my floor. I'm going to clean it well. So you show people how to find that ownership, that leadership energy in whatever they're doing. And thus the right angle cross of the 4 ways. Well, what are the 4 ways? It's such an interesting name. The 4 ways are, number 1, know when to take a break and go inward, right? Number 2, know how to approach people so you can maximize the interaction. Number 3, allows time to rationalize, allow time to reevaluate. It's a mental process. In your case, in nature, because of line 6, but let your mind wander. Let your mind, yes, 33, let's get your mind calm. But then let your mind wander, let it percolate, let it revisit the past, let it figure things out. It will have a realization if you give it space. And then take all this to the people. It's like you have 3 inner work positions and then take it to the team. And that's the 4 ways. Like, first you quiet the mind, heal the body, sort your thoughts, then go to the team. But don't go to the team until you've quieted your mind, healed the body, sorted the thoughts. Spare us your misery, please. Right? Do your inner work is what this incarnation cross is about. And ultimately, the 4 ways wants to serve. It is a service purpose. The highest gift we bring is the gift of ourselves in service. And that's what this is about. But in order to serve, you must first master serving yourself. And that's what this incarnation cross says. So, wow. Any thoughts before we wrap up?
Yeah, it's just remarkable once you get aligned how, because I didn't do any of this intentionally, it's just who I am. And I never quite understood why I had the instinct to know exactly what to say. That's why whenever I do enrollment calls, I don't have a script. This is where effortless enrollment came from. It's leveraging our intuition and our desire for partnership with our clients that actually creates the enrollment. It's not sales. It's conscious holistic influence. And you've just given me the rub. I'm like, oh, well, this is genius. For anyone who doesn't know human design, you didn't just read my mind, you read my DNA. I mean, this is me, and it's amazing to me. It is always, I am in awe how accurate and insightful this is. It's not just like, wow, that all is real stuff. It goes so far beyond that. I am so connected to my ancestral purpose here through this work, through the gene keys, through that reading, which was absolutely brilliant. Thank you so much for breaking that down. It's so invigorating to know that I'm aligned. I'm in my alignment, which is why things are going so well.
They really are. And here's the keynotes. Here are the words, just to give you the words and phrases of that incarnation cross. Retreat, approach, rationalization, coming to meet. Coming to meet comes last, not first. because the first is you got to retreat to have a meeting with yourself. Then you can go meet the team. So retreat, approach, rationalize, process, coming to meet, find those right people, find that right opportunity, and it's all congruent for you. So before we wrap up, I know you have some cool stuff happening. We'll give out the link for you. But what have you got going on?
I'm very excited that I'm doing my very first official enrollment of effortless enrollment group coaching. I had a pilot. I'm piloting right now, so we're working out all the kinks. They're very kind. They're very generous, but I'm doing an official enrollment the second or third week of May. So that's
Right.
coming. And for those who don't want the hands-on, but they want all of the mindset work and the actual process and systems that I developed, I have my very first evergreen, do it yourself at a much lower price point. So I will provide all the links. The price, the evergreen, you can just go and buy that. No application needed, which is awesome. If you're like a self-study ninja, you can go and take this, and I know it works. And for the people who really want that hands-on, a little bit higher touch, there's an application process, and you got to meet with me. Those two things are going to be available in mid-May.
Wonderful. Okay. Well, we'll give out the link. Any final words of wisdom for our audience?
Yes. Working with you, Baeth Davis, was the smartest thing. The universe put us in front of each other. And you were my very first excited, terrified decision that I made with my sacrum. And because I had the good sense to listen to you and allow you to influence me, and allow you to introduce me to my own greatness, that I could then turn around and completely inhabit my design. And now I'm going to be able to make the impact I've always been meant to make, that I've always felt, but I needed a year, and it had to come through you. So the final piece of wisdom is for people to get out of their own way and let you lead them. It's really important that people hear that this stuff is not astrology. Astrology is a very small component of it. And the power of this work is so potent and so self-evident. You need someone who understands it at the level that you do, Baeth. And it really works. It really, really does. So anyone who's come into your bubble, the wisdom is recognize that you've come into Baeth Davis' bubble. Don't miss the opportunity to work with her. That's the wisdom I have for people.
Well,
let her show you, please. You've come into her bubble for a reason. You're here to do very important work with the species right now for humanity. It's way bigger than us, people. Let Baeth help you help everybody, please.
Thank you. Thank you for that.
Yes.
And thank you, everyone, for tuning in. We'll be back real soon, and be sure to go check out all of Maura's resources. This has been another episode of Align to Your Design, and I'll see you all next time. I hope you enjoyed this episode of Align to Your Design. If you did, please grab my free report, Business by Design, at yourpurpose.com, and then join our Facebook group, Align to Your Design. See you next time.